I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is all the mods tin to the sky. Yes, another day, another all the mods tin to the sky video. And I tell you what, today I updated the pack and there was some major changes that I noticed right away. Like an entirely new texture for the quantum computer. I don't know what to think about this. Maybe it's the RGB edges that I don't like so much. I still don't know what to think about that. Let me know down in the comments below, by the way. Like, what's your thoughts on the new advanced AE quantum computer texture? It's iffy. It really doesn't fit the area anymore, honestly. But now the to-do list for today. We are so close to the All the Mod star. I can feel the heat radiating off of my cheeks. My face cheeks, all right? My face cheeks. And so today we have a couple of things we need to work on. We need to work on Ender.io, and I've already kind of played around with some testing of Ender.io, basically surrounding this pattern provider and then setting it to blocking mode so the way I can extend the recipes to all of the machines that are connected to the sides. And this does make it a little bit faster, but honestly, it's pretty darn slow still. I don't know. The regular capacitors are just something that we're going to have to figure out. But there is a solution, kind of, and that is going after these, loot capacitors. And they do have a much nicer modifier here. This one is a little bit faster than the base one, which is a modifier of 3. So yeah, this one already is very, very quick. But anyways, that's just one of the many things we need to do today. See, the final things we're really missing are the vibrant capacitor bank. We're slowly building up our antimatter pellets. That'll be done before I know it. And everything else here can basically be marked off the list as we've just about done it all. I can even make all of the Insanium coal blocks. Like, I mean, I just had to make like the Insanium coal, right? We need 18 of those. All of this is already automated. Basically, it's just upgrading our blocks. It's going to take 25,000 Ethereum blocks. But I mean, it's going to happen so quick. Like, because of us using this system, all of this stuff is going to craft incredibly fast, and I don't even need anything fancy. I'm just crafting it within our Applied Energistics system itself. But now today I was trying to figure out how could I incorporate the production of the create things for the mechanical arm and also kind of combine Ender.io all into one episode. And I come up with an idea. Hey, future Chosen here. Just wanted to inject and just basically say, you know how I've been saying that we're going to be getting into Ender.io today and possibly completing the thing needed for the star? Not today. I got a little bit carried away with create. But anyways, let's carry on. Now, remember a few episodes ago, I was like, you know what? This right here would make for a perfect elevator. An elevator that can take us all the way up to these different levels. And for that, I mean, create is one of the best options. And so I want to do that because I can actually add a few more sections here. So I can add a little area over here that'll allow us to do Ender.io, and we can have this be one giant platform that can work its way through the different levels. It's gonna be pretty cool. But now for create, we run into another problem. Making casings are kind of tedious, but not with our bees. See, we do have ourselves some lumber bees that we made last episode, and I can use this to my advantage to make just about any log. I think at this point I have enough of these, otherworldly logs. We don't really need a whole large amount of them. But what we can do is we can take like some spruce, for example. We can strip that spruce. And this is where things get absolutely wild. Let's get an axe and we'll grab that. We strip the log and we can actually use this and generate stripped logs from within here. This is absolutely amazing. So let's just speed these guys up real quick. So they generate the logs. There's the stripped logs. And we'll just add this to our new list. And now we don't have to worry about the hassle of stripping logs. No. We can just simply take these and automatically send them out to be converted. Oh, hey, look, it's me again. Yeah, I did want to pop in real quick. And I wanted to ask you guys a question. What is your favorite part of the Create mod? I know we're going to be dabbling a little bit with it today, but I would love to hear from you in the comments. All right, we can get on with the video. I've been playing with a lot of create as of recently, so I was thinking, what's the least create way that I could automate these casings? And that's, well, using Applied Energistics, but Also, maybe using modular routers, or I can even use like just dire things too. That could be pretty easy. And so, you know what? An Eclipse alloy pickaxe with the teleport upgrade, maybe an insta-break upgrade. I think that'll allow it to insta-break our casings. Yeah, let's get this set up. Now it divides this setup here. We're going to have an advanced clicker that is going to receive the item to then click on this block. And then we're going to have a simple block placer. This is just going to simply place the block. We do need to make sure that it is placing, I believe, on the west side. So we say place to the west. This is very simple, and we really don't need anything crazy. I'm going to set these to 1 tick just to make sure they are very quick in their operation. And then we have an advanced block breaker. Now we're going to use the Eclipse pickaxe here to do this. And then I'm going to make sure to select the pattern provider just to simply send back the recipe. And then that is going to go in here. Now, by default, their range is automatically set because that's exactly where we want everything to be placed. This is going to place right in front of it. This is going to be placing or breaking the block that's in front of it. But we do need to set these to an allow mode, and we got to go into casings. So create casings. And we just want to drag this in because this is actually what the breaker is going to be looking for. Is just any of the base cases. Like we don't even need the train casing. But the train casing we could technically make, but these are the primary. We just want brass and copper casings to be the ones that we can make. Now the rest of this should be quite simple. We need a puller module that pulls from the barrel whenever our applied energistic system sends the items. And so if we take this out, looks like this already had some configured stuff, but we just want it to pull from the barrel that is directly above, just making sure that that is doing its job there. And then we are going to want to, I would say use a distribution module, but really we are going to use just 2 sender modules. And they need to be the MK2 because we are going to be sending to this block right here and this block. So the first one we'll select, we'll send there. And then we also need to send this one here. So the first one is going to be receiving alloy and or any of the other materials that we're going to be using, like copper, for example, or brass to make those casings. So we'll make sure to put this in whitelist mode, and we're going to say andesite alloy, copper, ingots, because that's how we're going to make our other material, like our what is it called? Fluid? The fluid casings. And we also need brass ingots. And voila, that is basically done. And so if it sees any of those items, it's going to send it into this clicker. And then our other one is very simple. We're going to put it in whitelist mode as well. And we are just going to say, hey, throw stripped logs in here. That way it places in those stripped logs whenever they do appear in the buffer. So now I want to test this out. Let's give these some power here. I'm going to put the andesite alloy in this, and let's also put it in the barrel just to make sure it gets sent. Throw this in the barrel, it gets sent. And it actually got generated so fast, I didn't even get to see it work. Oh my goodness. So now when building the recipe for this, it's going to look a little bit something like so. Like this is about as simple as it gets, honestly. We just want to make sure that stripped log is the log that is being sent in here. And there we go. Like this is it. These are the recipes, and that's super duper simple. To make this happen and make sure we guarantee every operation, we'll just make sure to put this into lock crafting mode so it waits till it receives the product, which it will do because our Eclipse pick is actually sending it back into the pattern provider. So we're good. So now I can say, hey, I want like a few andesite casings. And there we go. The least create way of making create things. So now some things that we can do since I got those casings up, we can actually start working on getting the create stuff done. But before I do that, I think getting our alloy smelter up and running is going to be a good idea. And I kind of want to make the vibrant capacity banks and just have them passively crafting while I wait. Well, if I can get 2 here. So these are going to take a little bit of time. They are going to require quite a few of the octatic capacitors. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going here. Make sure we replan and just let that craft. Oh, by the way, the Insanium coal, yeah, that one's done now too. So yes, this is going to take a little bit of time simply because of how slow I was mentioning, like just the base smelters are. But I have made this quite a bit faster by making sure that this sends to multiple alloy smelters, all with octatic capacitors in here. This one, though, is a bit faster than all the rest. And that's thanks to like the single loot capacitor that I went out and got. But yeah, you can get them from in-cities. They just are very rare. You'd have to travel from in-city to in-city to in-city. And by the time that I found more of these capacitors, I would probably have had this craft already done. So now I promise you we're going to get more in depth in how we're going to actually automate the Ender IO, well, sentient Enders very, very soon. But in the meantime, let's kind of finish up the create section. We have a few things that we're going to need to do, and there's actually a way we can get by without really needing a whole lot of like stress to worry about. Yeah, we can actually convert RF directly into stress units. Now to do this, we are going to need to use create crafts and additions. Now this is pretty darn cool. It does require a little bit to get into itself, not too much though. We should be able to craft all of these and craft a whole bunch of them in bulk. I know you're screaming right now, you're going, Chosen, but rose quartz, it's such a painful thing for us to make and turn automatically into this. Well, you would actually be wrong, because we can just do it inside of a metallurgic infuser. And I'll tell you what, this recipe is quite the discount, only requiring 1 redstone, because yeah, enriched redstone is just 1. So yeah, 1 redstone to be able to make 1 quartz. This usually requires 8 redstone to make just 1. And then we can pop that in an enrichment chamber, and yet again, another anti-create way of making create things. So now I've just got to set up all of these crafters and make sure they're aligned in the way that the recipe shows. And you can see that right here, this is a little bit bigger, but it's just basically a square with some extra steps. There we go. Now I'm going to need to be able to power this just temporarily. So I'm going to use some campfires here. I'm going to make like the smallest little steam engine that you can make with create before we can turn all of our power into RF. So something like this is very, very simple. And then you can have a singular steam engine that's going to go on here. And we just need a shaft from create. And we can place that like so. And then we'll be able to bring this power down. But notice, this says we're just simply missing some water to be able to have some steam. And that's basically it. So we'll take a sink, and I'll just provide it with water with an Oratech pipe. That should be enough water. And that should get us a little bit of stress here. Now I've done a little bit of gear ratioing. I'm essentially taking my large cog to small cog, branching off to large cog, then to small cog after encasing this one, and then branching that up to a large. And then we've gotten up to this speed, and this still may be too fast. Yes, it is actually too fast for the little amount of stress we're generating. So maybe if I just do a double gear ratio here. Yeah, that seems like it's enough. So now I'm going to show you my favorite way of technically automating a bunch of these. And that's just by simply using hoppers in a pattern like this. So we have to do this because hoppers do feed into each other. So I'm going to be placing them on opposite sides. And we just need to get them in just like so. So you have the bottom here, and then we have this section and this section. And now we have every single one of these filled up. They only hold 1 item at a time. And it does become a little bit of a pain to filter without actually having mechanical arms, which is something that we do need. So now the only things left before we can get this started is throwing the copper coils in. And as soon as we have that, all of them should be combined together into a motor. And then that final result ends up down here. And beautiful, we have an electric motor. Automatically, by the way, we can actually upgrade this. So I'm going to break this for right now. And since we have this electric motor, might as well put it to use. So let's grab a gate. We'll give it some power here. And then we just need to take a shaft by removing all of this. Throw that on here. And then ramp that bad boy up to max speed. It's so much faster. And now we no longer need this setup. Yep, we get rid of the steam and everything. And now all of that was just to make those 16 motors. And I really only want 16 because, I mean, I don't think we're going to really need more than that. But we do need to use the motor to automate precision mechanisms real quick. This is a very, very simple thing for us to automate, and we're going to have it done right here, but also want to go ahead and start working on that elevator too. Now, precision mechanisms are going to simply require some exporters. We're going to need some power being sent into deployers. And like I said, exporters sending specific amounts of items into the deployers. That part is pretty straightforward, but creating the loop for the system is the thing that is a little bit challenging. But it is handled quite well with these item vaults. Something else that is kind of a pain is with create, this thing is based on percentage, which means that if we do it with a request system from Applied Energistics, it is going to break because there's a chance that it could fail. And whenever it fails, AE doesn't really account for that. So there is a better way of doing this. And I've usually done this in packs, for example, like this, where we just send so many and we just keep so many in stock. and then it'll only ever craft more whenever we run out of stock. So now, how exactly do we handle this? Well, a level emitter from Applied Energistics is going to be one of the easiest ways, I think. Now, before we start thinking about all of that, let's actually make sure that we manage this appropriately. So we're going to have a barrel that's going to receive the sheets that need to be sent out. It's going to do a loop, and then we need the return, no matter what it is, to come back into this barrel. So to create the loop, that is going to be the hard part, but we also need to maintain the loop, and we need to make sure that we can shut off our funnels as needed. So within Create, we do have brass funnels, and they're all redstone controlled, and we're going to take advantage of the fact of it being redstone controlled. Now, andesite funnel, that's going to be our return. This can accept anything as of right now, so I'm not super worried about it. However, the inserts and the exports on this to create a loop is the part that is very important. So we are going to need a brass funnel here, and we're going to essentially deny complete funnels. And so the way that this works is nearest first. So an item's going to come out, it's going to go through here, and then it is going to go through this brass funnel if it's not a fully complete version, and then it's going to send it on its way. Now, a way that we can make sure that we define a fully complete version without having a fully complete version is by grabbing a filter from Create, and we can just add it to a filter list. And so if we pull this precision mechanism in here under the allow list, and we put that in here, that right there, or sorry, deny list, we actually want to deny the item. We put that inside of here, that's going to pass through, and it's going to completely ignore the full ones. They won't actually go back into this item vault. Now, to pull the items back out of here, we don't need anything fancy. We can just simply use this, just a regular andesite funnel. And this is going to allow it to instantly be transported back through here to loop around through the processes that are taking place up here until it is a complete product. But now, what happens if this vault backs up and we end up with a lot of stuff in here? Well, that can cause a little bit of trouble. So the thing that we're going to need to prevent that from happening is using a threshold switch. This is going to check the inventory here, and it's going to say, hey, if there are more than, like, I don't know, 10 items in here, we want it to send a redstone signal. So thankfully the wording on here has been changed. It's so much easier to understand on the threshold switch. Basically, we want, if there are 10 or more items in this vault, send a redstone signal, and that redstone signal will then power this funnel. And when this funnel is powered, it then becomes locked, so no longer sending new things into the system. So notice this says power on when, and you can say at 10 items. So 10 items, and then we can set this to power off when it's below 5 items. And I think that's going to be a pretty easy way to handle this. But we have the other thing that we have to worry about. We also want to lock this if there's too many items coming in. So we can either lock our export bus, or we can lock this funnel to allow no more products to go out. And so let's start our export process. I'm actually going to use a drawer here to hold our items, because we can limit this with a downgrade. And it's pretty interesting. When this is limited, it's going to hold significantly fewer items. So with one upgrade, it allows it to only hold a stack of items at a time, that instead of 2,000, right? And that's kind of what we want to happen here. And we want to make sure this is holding on to our gold sheets that's going to be running through this. And so let's get some exporters in, and we are going to use crafting cards to keep them in stock. And we do have to go in order, so the same way that JEI shows. I'm going to be going from left to right in this case. So all of these going in for the precision mechanism. And then down here, we are going to also have a crafting card, and this will be gold. Good old-fashioned gold sheets. I do have them in here, so let's craft those up. Nice. And yes, this is going to also keep this in stock. Now, I don't have it turned on just yet, but if this was running, this would automatically kick on and start doing its thing. But we don't want that to happen just yet. And that's because before I turn this on, I want to use a level emitter. So I can extend off from here, and then I can add myself a level emitter on the bottom. The level emitter is going to emit a redstone signal based on some specific criteria. For example, I'm going to want to say, hey, only keep so many precision mechanisms in stock, and then we can emit a signal at a given value here. So emit levels are above or equal to limit, and like we can set like hey, only keep 16 in stock, or we can only keep 24 in stock. Let's just say that, or 32, maybe 32. So only keep 32 of these in stock. So emit when levels are above. We want to emit when we basically want the opposite of emit when levels are below limit. So emit when levels are above or equal to limit. And that is exactly what we want, because we want it to send a signal when it goes above or is equal to 32. That's all we need. So notice this turns off, but whenever that does equal the value, that is going to jump into action and is going to start working. So if all is set up correctly, this whole thing should run and should be able to produce precision mechanisms. We got to get a gate, and it's going to run off of RF power. How cool is that? So I'll throw that down. This looks like it is spinning the wrong way. So we'll just move this here. And then that is now sending out our sheets, which is not exactly what we want, right? We do not want to send out the sheets. I also don't know why this all of a sudden just stopped going. Oh, I think it's because of this above here. Ah, that's right. So yes, we also want this to be on limit 1. So yeah, we want it to only send out 1 at a time. And then we also need to get power up here. So actually I should probably remove this and transfer this into another. Yeah, we need to get this possibly powered on this side. So perfect. I've got this all locked. I know this looks absolutely wild, but it isn't that crazy as far as a setup goes for Create. So let's just make sure we have our direction correct. I have that going in this direction. All of these are now powered and running, and they are all receiving product. So now all I need to do is flip this off, and there it goes. It's going to jumpstart, and like I said, this should power off if there are more than 10 items in here, and you can see that did get powered off. So these are going to continue to run through until all of them are complete, or at least down to 5 items are within this storage. And there we go. Now, we just noticed, yes, we do have a little bit of an issue. This is another issue. There are items that get generated from this that does make this setup kind of broken. But I do have a way technically of kind of fixing that. We're just essentially going to need a incomplete version. And we put the incomplete in here as an allow in. We just have to get our hands on an incomplete. Okay. So perfect. So now this is in. I'm going to let this sort of do its thing, run through. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and cancel this for right now. We're now going to pull this out. And because of this, let's remove this, put the incomplete in, and set it to allow. Now, everything that is trash will automatically flow through. And now that we have an incomplete, it's only going to pull incompletes in, no matter what incomplete state it's in. Or at least it shouldn't matter what incomplete state it's in. So there we go. Make sure to turn it back on and just kind of let things roll. You can see now it is functioning as you would expect. And right here is our precision mechanisms. And I'm going to grab my cable, route it around, and get that hooked in as well. And we need an import bus. And so now with Create, we can see we already have all of our precision mechanisms being generated. And already we have 18, which is enough for us to make the mechanical arm. Look at that, 22. And once it gets to 32, this will all shut off. And beautiful. Just so you know that it is working, you can see that the level emitter is now emitting a redstone signal, which is then shut this off, making sure that no more gets sent out. That's exactly what we want to see. And we should have at least 32 in stock. So go back to Create. And yeah, we have 42 in stock, which is it or more. And beautiful. So I know this is a whole setup in itself, and we're about to dive into Ender.io, but I just wanted to also show an elevator. And this is now going to be converted into an elevator. I've just kind of design it. And all we need for an elevator, by the way, is an elevator pulley. And then we're going to also need some redstone contacts and just a simple contraption controller. Now, so far, I think so good. I've incorporated some of the other designs from within the base into here. I'm using some shafts to branch up, some metal girders right here, some immersive engineering fences up at the top, and then some fences for guardrails on the bottom. And I've also used the weathered iron windows because I think this gives a really cool like effect on the bottom. And then I hope that I can use this many contraption controls, but I want a contraption control on all 4 sides that is going to allow me to be able to just walk in from all sides and select the floor that I want to go to and just simply go there. Now underneath this is actually where the control needs to be for the machines. Actually, I might put it on this side. And that's because this is how we control what level we're on. So these need to be placed down. At least in this case, let's see, place it down like that. And then on this side, place down like this, and you should see they will connect. Now, this needs to be done on all sides, all the way up here. So all of this needs it done. And for every level that we're going to have this elevator go to, it needs to have one of these contacts. And so now that I've got the elevator designed, I've got to do the hard part, and that is simply gluing the whole thing together. Yes, gluing it with Create Glue. And you want to make sure that you don't connect anything that you don't intend on connecting together. And if you can connect the whole thing, do it the most efficient way that you know how to. For example, like I don't really want that connected there, so I'm gonna actually punch it to get rid of it. But I do want this whole connection done. I'm also going to connect up the roof, and I'm going to design that. So I'm going to go like this, and then like so. So now everything that's up top there is connected, but I do have to connect this all the way down to the center. And technically I have to remove some stuff because I do want the glue to go all the way down to the bottom there. But notice it's telling me, hey, there's blocks missing. Yeah, because it does require blocks technically to be able to do this. Okay, so I'll click here, and then this whole thing is connected down to the bottom. And yes, you can still place the blocks back in, and they're still going to function as normal. And so I think everything here is glued together. Looks pretty darn good. And now I've got to get this powered up here. We got to give this a little bit of power, and I'm going to do that through the electric motor. The rotation direction doesn't matter here, but we do need rotational energy. So beautiful. There we go. And then all I have to do is click this, and that turns this entire thing right here into a contraption. Now it did lag a little bit when I did that, and I'm not sure why, but if I select to go up, just want to check and make sure everything was as it should, and it did carry everything correctly. Look at that. And now we can go up the levels. Now to make this faster, so that way we can go up and down quicker, we just have to control this with our rotation speed. So, I mean, 180s is usually pretty fast, pretty good. 256 is very fast, by the way. And so, you know what? Maybe with the size of this area, let's try 256. I do want this to be pretty quick. Like, I feel like it definitely deserves to be fast. Let's go as fast as possible down here. Doesn't get any faster than this. You know what? I'd call that pretty good. That is a very fast speed. And then another cool thing that we can do is down here, we can actually give these floors individual names, and we can also give them individual level identifiers. So we can call this one level 1, and all of the other ones like level 2, 3, and 4, and we can give them different names. So now with all of them labeled, you can now see this is ground, and then we have mech, Oratech, and Dire. So all of them are now identified and labeled, and that's pretty cool, I think. Now, you know what? As much as I thought I was going to be able to get into Ender.io today, man, I spent all of my time with Create, and we didn't even do Create the normal Create way. Oh, you know what? But I'm pretty happy with this, and I hope you enjoyed basically understanding, or at least I hope you understand all of the mechanics involved with this. So being able to create systems like this, I feel like there's a lot of bits and pieces that do get involved in making this kind of stuff. But overall, hopefully you learned a thing or two. For example, maybe you learned something about the level emitter, or you learned how the threshold switch actually functions, or you learned that the item vaults is like an unlimited infinite transfer pipe that only extends 3 blocks. Yeah, that one's a weird one. Maybe it was about this elevator and how you can set up an elevator in your own base. I don't know. Maybe it was the unlimited create power. Yeah, just using RF to create stress. That was pretty powerful. But if you did learn something new, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And without further ado, it's time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. That amazing thanks, well, that's going to go out to Smoke Eater Cash, thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode where we're going to be diving into some Ender.io and getting ready to complete the All the Mods Star progression and get this bad boy automated. So, look forward to seeing you then, and as always, thanks for watching.